God save the Tsar.
Welcome my fellow gamers, I'm the Body Counter. E3 has passed and the Battlefield 1 DLC in the Name of the Tsar trailer dropped. A lot of its content has already been confirmed, such as the vehicles, weapons, and even the location and info of the maps. So I'm not going to do an analysis video on the trailer, because it's only been done 100 times. So instead, I want to make a video on what weapons I want to see in the future for Battlefield 1 and its DLCs. I'll be giving you an overview of the weapon, its known stats, how it could be implemented in the game, and more. It's a decent list. No clue where people are getting no weapon variety from. Just a disclaimer though, some of the weapons I'll be running through will be very rare or even unheard of in World War I, but the same goes for many existing weapons and vehicles in game already. First on the list is the Beretta OVP. Now at first glance, this looks like an Automatico cousin. This is true. The OVP was a submachine gun of Italian origin. It served in World War II, but was in service in 1918, and was designed in 1916. This firearm is actually the refined variation of the already in-game Villa Perosa. The OVP had a fire rate of 900 rounds per minute, same as the Automatico. A major difference between the two though, is that the OVP was semi and fully automatic. It had the same capacity as the Automatico. I see the only way to include this gun into the game along with its cousin is to have this one remain a more controllable submachine gun with a slightly higher velocity, but for balancing reasons, have its fire rate slightly reduced. This weapon should be specific to the assault soldier. I can imagine there being a Storm and a Sweeper variant. The Storm having a foregrip and using the 9mm ammunition, while the Sweeper variant can use the .455 Webley auto revolver ammunition, doing more damage but having less control. Both these rounds were intended for this submachine gun. Next up is the sexy looking Farquhar-Hill Rifle, a British automatic rifle using .303 ammunition. This beast used 20 to 65 round drum magazines. Unfortunately, it saw very limited use in World War I, and was mainly used by aviators and other airship observers and plane gunners. The Farquhar-Hill actually used one of the earliest versions of the recoil operating system used in many guns today. Having a 700 rounds per minute and such a large capacity, I can only imagine the proper way to balance it is to have a poor hip fire and possibly a lack of effective control when fired too fast. I can see this weapon being a useful medic rifle or for more realistic use for pilots and tankers, which I'm fully against. Honestly, I wish anyone could use the tanker and pilot weapons. Possible variants could include a defensive variant with a bipod, red dot sight and a 65 round mag, and a Storm variant with a foregrip with a 20 round magazine. If they don't include this next gun into the game, I will send a test tube of my own tears to the developers at Stockholm. The Burton automatic rifle, made by the US, was a dual magazine rifle used to destroy airships and blimps, since they used a special .345 WSL incendiary ammunition. In-game, this weapon could do extra damage to planes and not just airships, maybe even doing flare-like damage against infantry after sustained hits. Another unique advantage it could have compared to other similar weapons is the fact it could be equipped with a bayonet. Something odd, seeing as it was intended to be used for seated gunners in planes. Each magazine was equipped with 20 rounds, but they were not fired at the same time. Once a magazine was expended, the magazine was pulled outwards and the secondary magazine was pushed into the firing stage. In-game for balancing purposes, it would need to have a sluggish reload after each magazine was used. Variants could include an optical variant with a red dot sight and a trench with increased hip fire. Even though this weapon could be considered America's first ever assault rifle, it would seem more fitting for the support. The standard issue rifle for the Italian army, which honestly should have been in the game in the first place, the Carcano, a 6-round bolt-action rifle in service from 1891 all the way to 1981. Not to mention it was the weapon of choice for Lee Harvey Oswald in the JFK assassination. It came in multiple cartridges, some being the 6.5mm Carcano, 7.35mm Carcano, and the 7.92 Mauser, being loaded by an N-block clip. Having an effective range of 1 km, an ideal sweet spot could be 150 to 200 meters. Variants could include a sniper variant with a telescopic sight and bipod, and a carbine variant with a red dot sight and a shortened barrel. Since this is a bolt-action rifle, it is intended for the scout use only. Now this weapon is possibly the most unclear, factually, of any other firearm in this list, to the extent that only one exists to this day, and it has no true designated name. So for this list, I'm going to give it a name. The Compact Maxim. This SMG has no confirmed manufacturing date, nor any information on who made it, or its stats during the time it served, if it even served at all. It was a German SMG modelled after the Maxim MG08-18 and used 9mm ammunition. The feed mechanism is truly bizarre, having 8 rows and 10 rounds within a stacked box magazine, such as a weapon that I'll cover very soon. Once a row had been used, the next rack would move along to the right, ready to fire. As an SMG, I would love for this very obscure weapon to be featured for the assault. Variants that come to mind are a Storm variant with better ADS accuracy, and a Sweeper variant fitted with 4 10-round stacks instead of 8, but using the unique 9mm Mauser export caliber, doing extra damage but with less control. Next up, before the Mondragon, this weapon proved to be the first ever self-loading rifle. The Madsen-Rasmussen 1896 was a Danish semi-automatic rifle which went through several adaptations to get into service for the Danish military. Having an odd design at first, it was later refined by the two creators into a more reliable and functioning firearm. The Madsen-Rasmussen had a capacity of 10 and used 8x58 mmR Krag ammunition, which honestly sounds badass. Having an overhead magazine, like the Madsen LMG, in-game it would be a fairly quick to reload rifle, instead of having to use 5-round stripper clips. A fair way to differentiate the Madsen-Ras 1896 from the Mondragon is to have a quicker reload, more powerful shot, but less control and less accurate hipfire. Variations of this self-loader would be a marksman version with a telescopic sight and a bipod, and a factory for quicker recoil control. This Danish rifle will be best suited for the medic class. Another Italian weapon to this list is the Perino Model 1908, a machine gun used by both Italy and Austria-Hungary during the war. Designed in 1901, it was considered as Italy's first ever machine gun. Mainly used for fortifications and trenches, these hunks of power weighed a hefty 27 kilograms, but also appeared in lightened variants weighing at 15 kilograms. Using the same 6.5 round as the Carcano Rifle, the Perino fired at 450 rounds per minute, and used 20 round fed strips, similar to the Hotchkiss rifle. Other configurations included a box mounted to the side of the gun to fit 5 strips, enabling for continuous fire as long as there were strips in the box mag. The Perino was more obscure than other machine guns used by the Italians. The Fiat Revelli was ordered for the Italian army over the Perino. In-game, this weapon would fit for the role of the support player, and possible variants can include a suppressive variant with a fed strip box mounted to the side of the gun, including a bipod and scope, and a low-weight variant with a bipod and less severe recoil. This next firearm is one of my personal favourites. Not necessarily a new weapon though, but can work as a new variant to the base gun, much like the Hellriegel Defensive is to the factory version. The Gewehr 98 with the trench magazine. At first glance, it seems crazy to add this into the game, and would require a workable balancing system in order for it to exist as a fair firearm for players. Many standard issue rifles of World War I were experimented with modifying an extended internal magazine. This variant of the Gewehr was extended with 25 rounds. I figure if we were to have an iron sights only version, an increased reload time and come with a shortened barrel with less damage and no sweet spot, much like the Gewehr 95, it would be an effective but balanced inclusion to the scout class. As it has no scope, one could fire this variant without having to exit ADS to load another round into the chamber. We've reached the last weapon on the list, and I just want to say thank you if you're still watching this lengthy video. This is a very unique addition, the Howell automatic rifle, a semi-automatic configuration of the British Lee Enfield rifle. Using somewhat of a steampunk looking mechanism, the attachments along the side and bolt of this rifle allow this weapon to be fired as a semi-automatic rifle, doing all the bolt action work for the user. Fitted with either the base 10-round magazine or even a 20-round magazine, much like the trench variant of the Gewehr I suggested previously. So to balance this weapon effectively, it must use iron sights only, as it did in World War I. A poor hipfire or rapid firing accuracy could also be fair to add, as the ergonomics of this weapon were hindered due to the amount of mechanical features mounted to the side of the rifle. Though it could still have its sweet spot and damage like the already existing SMLE. Instead of this weapon being available to the Scout, I would like to see it as an elite class weapon, preferably a sniper based elite who specialises in offensive sniping combat while also supporting the players around them. But that's a topic for a later video I had in mind. I hope you enjoyed this video as it took quite a while to put together, and I also want to thank you all for supporting my channel as we've finally hit the 200 subscriber milestone. I've got something in mind for my 200 sub video, a Q&A most likely, much like my previous one I had for my 100 subscriber special, so feel free to drop a question in the comments below, or share your thoughts on the video, or if you had any ideas of weapons you want to see in the future as well. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button to show your support, subscribe to keep up to date with my latest content, and as always, continue gaming on.